Hi, everyone, and welcome to our product demo, Faster Evaluations with Brightspace. We appreciate you taking the time to join us online today. My name is Eric, and I'm part of the higher education team here at D2L. I'd like to highlight a few housekeeping items before we get started. At the bottom of your screen, you'll find the option for Q&A. Clicking on the Q&A button will bring up a window you can use to submit a question. You can submit anonymously if you prefer and keep this window open to view questions from other participants. We'll address as many questions as possible following today's session. An on-demand version of this demo will be available in the next 24 hours, and the link for the recording will be emailed out to you. Please feel free to share this link with your colleagues that you think will benefit from today's session. You can also view our past demos on demand at d2l.com/highereducationproducttour. And now I'm going to hand things over to our presenter, Joanna Niu-Adamski, one of D2L's own product experts. Over to you, Joanna.
Amazing. Thank you, Eric. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, folks. Just bear with me a quick sec. Perfect. And Eric, if I could just get a confirmation that we can see my screen here, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, you are good to go.
Perfect. All right, everyone. So welcome. Thanks again for joining us today. We're going to be talking about evaluations, something a lot of folks are very interested in, especially from the faculty side of things. Within Brightspace, we always care about what our faculty have to say. In fact, we asked our faculty recently, what is the most important thing that you do when you log into your learning management system for the first time or in general? And they, of course, replied with assessments being extremely important. The ability to have all of your assignments in one area and being able to effectively sift through the submissions and being able to filter them properly. And on top of that, to be able to annotate them and provide feedback all within one area. Okay. So what we've come up with is with a tool called Quick Eval. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate to my tool here. The Quick Eval tool was, again, built in mind with our faculty members. This is a tool that allows you to have all of your submissions across all of your different courses in one area. Okay, so kind of different from what's on the market right now, right? Usually we see with tools like this, something where you have to navigate to the course first and then go to an assignments area and to be able to find your submissions that way. With the Quick Eval tool, we created with Brightspace, the difference is that all of your assessments are in one area, right? So it's not just one course, it's all of them. So as you can tell, I'm going to have a bit of a busy week here. I've got a lot of annotations, and I've got a lot of submissions to get through. Okay, so as you can see, we have a first and last name section right here where we can see all of our students. We can see the activity name that they have submitted, and we can also see the course and the submission date. Okay. We do allow you to filter, right? If you perhaps are interested in just annotating or grading one specific assignment, you can just filter by that assignment, right? If I perhaps want to see all of my students and all their submissions for just their first plan, I can do so very easily, okay? And of course, we can also filter by the course itself, right? If we don't want to see all of our courses at once, perhaps I know that my Business 101 course, I have a lot of submissions into, I can very easily filter by that course as well. And of course, the date of submission, right? So anything that maybe I need to get to within the last day, or perhaps if I've been really busy and if I'm maybe taken a little bit longer than a week, right? I can actually filter my submissions based on something that was submitted over a week ago as well, which will really help me keep on top of everything as well. So not only do we, again, allow you to see all of your assignments and be able to filter them effectively, we also give you the opportunity to actually complete your grading, provide feedback, annotations, all in one area as well. So for today's demonstration, we're going to be talking about Janice Bowman. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got Janice. I see her first plan submission from her Business 101 course here. Okay, so all I have to do is just select her name, and I will be brought to a page that actually shows her submission. Okay, I can also see that she submitted it as a document, right? So as a Word document. So all I have to do is simply click on that submission, and now I have access to her plan. Okay, so we have now opened the document, right? So now I have the ability to provide annotations and some interesting feedback. So I'm just going to scroll past her plan. She's got her title page, beautiful table of contents here. She's following the format that I advised. And what I'm looking for at first is the executive summary, which I can see right here. Okay. Since the Brightspace platform is built on mobile responsive technology, we can actually access this quick eval tool from any device, right? Right now I'm on my computer, but I could very easily do these annotations from perhaps a tablet, right? If I enjoy more of a freehand annotation approach, I can pick up, a device that provides me that capability of using a stylus or even my finger for annotations. And we do have a freehand tool that comes with this annotation, right? So perhaps I wanted to let her know that she did really well on her assignment here. So I can just do a nice old school kind of A+ here to really let her know, okay? This is also great for needing to provide perhaps annotations or feedback on images or anytime you would require a freehand approach, right? We do give you the abilities to change the colors. You can set the transparency, even the thickness of the lines as well. Okay, and again, since this is mobile friendly, at any point, you can pull this up on your tablet or a mobile device and be able to continue your annotations that way as well. Another really great part of this tool in terms of annotation is the ability to give notes and feedback. Perhaps I'm not so artistically inclined, or I don't want to use a stylus for my specific annotation requirements. Perhaps I'm more interested in doing a little bit of a note aspect, right? So we can actually color coordinate these notes. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop one right next to the executive summary. Perhaps I want to really provide some feedback in this specific area. As you can see, I can move and drop my little cursor here and place it in the appropriate spot that I want to provide that feedback for. So I can go ahead and do that now. Great job. Right, this really gives us the flexibility to really give notes on specific areas. And since they are color coordinated, at any point we can kind of go in and change the note colors, perhaps making it a little bit easier for students to see things that are color coordinated as well, right? So perhaps I want to give some insight into her highlights area. I can go ahead and start typing out my feedback here as well. Okay. Aside from the notes, we also give you the ability to have a text box, right? Perhaps I just want to be able to provide some feedback here. And include a text box, I can do so. And of course, we can also draw lines and color coordinate them as well, okay? All of this feedback gets saved within the student submission, right? As soon as we're done our marking, students get a copy of this annotated document that they can then reference themselves and see kind of what's been happening or all the annotations on their documents. They can download these documents for their own use, perhaps save them within their portfolios, and keep a nice track of their assignments and their grades that way as well. Okay. So aside from annotating the document specifically, the right-hand side of the quick eval area provides us an opportunity to provide evaluation and feedback as well. Since I've attached a rubric to the specific assignments, I can now use this rubric to finish my grading. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my rubric. And what I like to do when I'm marking my assignments here is to have things side by side. So I'm just going to resize my rubric here so it can fit right next to my document. And what I really like to do is just have this experience where as I'm going through my document, as I'm providing annotations, I can also translate that right to my rubric, right? So I've got my criteria, I've got my different levels. I can select the different criteria, right? The rubric is interactive. It allows us to pick these specific criteria that will then automatically get pushed to my feedback area. But on top of that, you'll notice I can actually add feedback straight to my gradebook, right? So not only can we provide feedback when we're annotating the document itself, we can also add feedback for specific criteria within the rubric as well, okay? I'm gonna hit enter. And everything gets saved to the overall score. You'll notice there's no save buttons because it does it all automatically. As soon as I hit close, the score area gets populated right from what I input into my rubric there. Okay. Scrolling down past the score, once we have a nice score, whether we used our rubric or whether we decided to do a more manual approach, no problems there. We also provide you another area for feedback, right? We are really big on feedback within our assessments and evaluations, right? We feel like when students submit work, when they put so much effort into being tested properly, it's a great opportunity for instructors to provide some depth feedback, not only through annotations, but the use of the rubrics and also a standard feedback area. The standard feedback area that we're looking at here right now includes the use of our insert stuff feature. So some of you may already be familiar with Brightspace in a way where you know that any anytime you're inputting text into the platform, you have access to this word editor here that we call our HTML editor, right? So within the feedback area, we also provide you the capabilities of the insert stuff tool. So if I click on insert stuff, within my feedback area, I can actually attach rich media content, whether it's a video notes, whether it's a YouTube video. Perhaps I want to embed an embed code or insert a link to some external learning tools. All a possibility within the feedback area here as well. Okay. And finally, we do also give you the ability to record audio or record video within your feedback area as well, right? You don't have to pre-record videos or audio files, on your computer and then upload them. We give you that functionality. We give you that software bit that allows you to record yourself and drop that right into the feedback area. Especially useful when we're talking about online learning, or if we have distance learning, or perhaps students who don't necessarily get to see us in person all that much. It's great to be able to give them that almost face-to-face feedback area where we can talk about some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses with the things we found with their submissions. Okay. So what I like to do is actually save these as a draft. As I'm doing my markings, if I save as a draft, I don't have to worry about students, getting the marked assessment back before other students, right? So for integrity reasons, we give you the ability to be able to save as a draft rather than just publishing right away, which of course you can do. It's up to you. But if you save it as a draft, there is an option for you to be able to publish all in one area as well. So I'm going to navigate back to my quick eval main page. And the next part I want to talk about is the activities center. So you'll notice that I can view by submissions or I can view by activities. If I click on activities, I get a really cool visual breakdown of what's happening within the specific courses, okay? So I can see my specific assessments here, right? We've got a discussion post, we've got an assignment and a quiz. I can actually complete my evaluations from here as well. I can evaluate all, or I can see a nice submission list as well. I can also see who's completed what and when. And of course, just like I promised, we do have that publish all button, right? So as we're going through our assessments, as we're annotating and drawing conclusions and providing feedback and marks, as long as we save it as a draft, it's not going to get published right away. And this allows us to release all of that activity at once as well for that specific assignment, okay? Again, for integrity reasons, we don't want students to have access to marked assignments or quizzes or discussions before everybody else has had a chance to submit theirs. All right, so I do see that a chat's kind of popping up with some questions. We are going to do a little bit of a Q&A closer to the end of our demonstration. Right now, we just talked about our quick eval tool, which is really where we find a lot of instructors spending most of their time in for their grading and assessments and things like that. But the next part of our presentation is going to focus a little bit more on the gradebook, and after which we will pause for a Q&A and really get to those questions that I'm very excited to talk about. So in order for me to talk about the gradebook and the way we can set it up, I'm going to have to be in a course, right? So I'm an instructor in my English 101 course here. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to that. And then I will select my gradebook from my navigation bar here. Perfect. So the first thing I want to talk about within the gradebook is that it's highly customizable. We understand that, the saying goes that everybody learns differently. And I really believe that the same logic applies to everybody teaching differently. We allow you to really set up your gradebook exactly how you want. We give you the ability to set it up on a points basis and a weighted gradebook, or even a formula-based gradebook that allows you to really customize the way that you want to have your assignments set up and how then they would calculate towards the final grade. So just a quick overview of the gradebook here. You'll notice there's a notes area. I really enjoy the notes area because it allows me to see what's kind of happening with my gradebook. Maybe it's telling me that if I have a weighted gradebook, the final calculated grade sums up to 220%, not 100. So there are really great smart features built into the gradebook and just into the Brightspace platform in general that will help you keep on track of everything and really help you organize it and maybe point out ways at which you can make it a little bit better by taking advantage of the features that we offer. So if I'm going to scroll down to my gradebook here, very standard kind of a gradebook view. On my left-hand side, I got my first and last name student list. It's organized by categories, right? So I've got my quizzes, which would be the main category, and then I have my individual quiz items, which would be the poetry terms, the poetry history, and the quiz. And same with discussions, right? So as I'm building out my course, I'll probably see a little bit more discussions, and they will be viewed this way. And same with my assignments, right? So I can kind of keep going and kind of scrolling through my gradebook here and being able to see in the end the final calculated grade, okay? So this is what we call our spreadsheet view. This view allows you to use your tab key and go through the different criteria here very quickly, right? This view is meant for like a more of a manual approach towards grading. If you want to be able to change a lot of grades all at once, you can do so from here. We also do offer you a standard view by just clicking on switch to standard view on top of the gradebook area. This allows you to see more of a criteria or a grading scheme based layout. So since my gradebook is percentage based and it is weighted, I get to see that reflected in here as well. Okay. We do support a lot of different grading schemes. It doesn't have to be percentages. As you can see, the final calculated grade, I've decided to make it letter grade for whatever reason. Don't necessarily recommend it, but you can do so if you wish. Really did this just to hit home on the fact that you can see that we've got percentages, we've got letter grades, we can make it pass and fail, right? So there's a lot of different grading schemes that we support that you can more than welcome to use within your gradebook. And of course, you can have things color coordinated if you like as well, right? So this view is a little bit different from that standard view where it shows you, the grades and more of a visual representation of the grading scheme itself. In terms of setting up your gradebook, there is a setup wizard available the first time you log into your course. I would really recommend, if you'd like your gradebook set up a certain way, to navigate to your setup wizard. And this is pretty much a little quiz that's going to ask you what your grading system you want, how the final grade is going to be released, the grade calculations, the default grading scheme. If you click on start, it's actually going to take you through the process of you being able to select these things, and it's also going to give you examples. So this setup wizard will actually take you through these few questions, and based on that, it's actually going to formulate the gradebook for you, right? So it really makes it super easy for us to set up our gradebook the way we want it, and afterwards we can always go in and fine tune things to really make sure our gradebook is hitting home on that specific way we want it to be organized. And the way that you can do that is from the manage grades area, right? So we started at first with our enter grades where we can see all of our grades and we have the ability to mark and provide grades here as well. We talked about being able to switch to a spreadsheet view that allows us to have a little bit more of an Excel layout. Then we talked about our setup wizard that really allows us to tailor the experience of our gradebook. And now we're finally talking about our manage grades area. And this is such an important part of the gradebook. This allows us to see at a high level how our gradebook is organized, what kind of categories we have, how those rubrics or how those columns play out. So since I have a weighted gradebook, I like to be able to see the weights of all my assessments, right? So I got my quizzes here and I have my individual quiz items and I can see the weights associated to those. And at any point I can, go in and edit things, right? So I know that maybe my poetry terms quiz, I want to change the category of it, or maybe I want to change the weight or the maximum points, or maybe I want to give it the ability to be a bonus or if it can exceed the weights, right? And of course, what we can also offer with the flexibility of the gradebook here is the ability to really set the grading scheme for individual assessments, right? So I can have it so that my quizzes perhaps get, the percentage grading scheme. Maybe my discussions have more of a pass and fail approach to things. So we can have different types of grading schemes for different types of assessment. It doesn't all have to be percentages. It doesn't all have to be pass and fail. We can have individual items equate to different things as well, okay? Another thing that you can do from the manage grades area is to reorder things. Since this is directly tied to our view within the first part of the gradebook, we can really rearrange things, right? So perhaps I don't want my quizzes to be on top. I don't want my discussions to be second. I can very easily click reorder and change the order of how my gradebook is presented by just being able to apply the number to the sort order area. Okay, so don't want to go too deep into the gradebook. I do want to save some time for some questions that I know we've had come in. So what I'm going to do is just navigate back to the Brightspace landing page here at the highest level, and I'm just going to take some time. I see we've got about 7 questions here, and I want to go through some of the questions we have together today, okay?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joanna, for the great demo. So we'll get to the questions now. The first question we've got is, if you click on a student's name, does it show all submissions by that student in all of their courses?
Okay, so I believe that was probably one of the first questions.
Back
So
in Quick Eval, yeah.
we're back in Quick Eval. So we want to be able to sort this based on student, right? So we want
Yes.
to see all the student submissions. Yeah. So let's see here. As of right now, we don't have the sort ability for that specific student. But if we were to go into the students in the gradebook area, I believe we'd be able to see all of the student-specific submissions from the gradebook rather than from the quick eval area. So there is a way for us to do it, and also keeping in mind that the quick eval tool is about 3 months old, so we're still adding a lot of things to it, and we can definitely ensure that the student filter for that specific student would be available for that in the future.
Excellent.
Mhm.
And then it's the understanding that the Quick Eval tool needs to be added in by the administrator of the system, but is not displayed by default. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, it would have to be a tool that gets switched on, mainly because we work on what we call the way that we release information or updates, or when we release new tools, we don't set them on by default because that can be disruptive, right? Our continuous delivery update model, the reason why it works so well is because we don't just throw tools at you and turn them on. We give you the ability to perhaps get people trained up on them first, and then that be released by the administrators that way. So that's usually why we do it. But yes, it is a tool that can be enabled right now by your administrator for you.
Perfect. And again, within Quick Eval still, can you redline with the annotations tool?
Red line. So I think that means more so, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Usually when I hear red line, it means to be able to cross things out, or to be able to highlight text and work with a specific sentence, if I'm not mistaken. So if we select a certain text within the platform, we can highlight, or we can strike out, underline, or red line that way.
Perfect. And it seems, one experience here, it seems like discussions don't disappear from the list unless the instructor actually posts to the discussion rather than just grading it. Is that by design, or is there a way around that?
And are we talking about the quick eval tool for discussion?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that to me sounds like it wouldn't be a design feature. That might be something that I would like to look into myself. So I unfortunately do not know. So I think that's me just being honest. So I think I'd like to follow up with that if that's okay. Yeah, we'll
Yep.
have to look into that on our own.
Yeah, so we can absolutely look into that and then follow up via email.
Perfect.
And can you save your comments for reuse within the feedback area?
That is, yeah, I've heard of that request many times. At this point, it is not yet a part of our feature within Quick Eval, but it would be so great just to have those, those templated responses, right? Like if somebody does this, I can click on that, right? So that is yet to come for sure, but as of right now, it's not here.
Okay. And then when you were having the rubric open in a separate window on top, how do you keep it from the windows swapping? I believe this would just mean you have to have both of your web browser windows not full screened, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, simple question there was just the windows always snap, so the active one is on top. So in order to avoid that, just have, like Joanna's showing here, both of your windows are not in full screen view, and then they will not close on you.
Yeah, so this one isn't full screen, right? So it might be a little bit different on the Mac in terms of view, but I know you can do the same thing on the PC, right? Where you can just not make it full screen, and it gives you the ability to kind of shrink your windows. That's what I would recommend you do if you'd like to have your rubric side by side with your assessment like this. And then also another cute little trick that I figured out, that as long as you point your cursor at the document, you don't actually have to click on it, right? I'm not clicking on anything here. I'm just kind of guiding my cursor along so I can kind of move my document without having to actually, click into the window and then this will disappear. You can just have this open side by side, and as long as you point your cursor without actually clicking on anything and move up and down, it will navigate that for you on both windows.
Awesome. I did not know that trick either, so that's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
So in the gradebook section, how do you use the exempt option?
Perfect. Let's go back into the gradebook. In order to get to my gradebook, I have to get into my course here. So I could have just done the really easy way and just clicked on my little waffle icon here. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, navigating to my grades. Now let's say I wanted to exempt well, we might be able to do two things at once here. So we had a question earlier about being able to see, all one student submissions in one area. So I'm going to switch to my standard view here. I'm going to click on CJ. So now we can actually see CJ's grade items. We can see his submissions. And if I keep scrolling, we can actually see all of his assignments and everything he submitted all in one area, which is really, really cool. So that answers that question. I'm just going to go ahead and continue here, and we're going to talk about exemptions, okay? So if I want to perhaps exempt a student from, let's say, my poetry history quiz, quiz. I'm going to go ahead and click on the little drop down next to the poetry or the item that I want to exempt them from. I'm going to hit enter grades. And if I scroll down here a little bit so I can see those users, I can select that specific user and hit exempt right from here. Okay, and now that this will no longer count towards their final grade. So let me just do that again. I'm not going to save this. I'm going to show you folks exactly how I got there. So I navigated to my gradebook. I looked at that specific item I want to exempt the student from, whether it's a quiz, whether it's discussions. I'm going to select the little drop down right next to that. I'm going to hit enter grades. I'm going to scroll till I see the list of students, and I'm going to select the student I want to exempt, highlight their name, and hit that exempt button right there. Okay.
Awesome, thank you so much. And how do we get icons at the bottom of the course tiles?
Icons at the bottom of the course tiles. All right, so I'm guessing you folks saw this in my homepage here. So are we talking about these little guys here?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so that is, how do we get that? How will we get that for your institution? So that is something I would ask your awesome admin folks about. They can get in touch with us and we can actually show them how to do that as well. It's not something you would do at the instructor level. That would have to be done through the administrative side of things. So this is just the My Courses widget, and the newest version of it includes these tiles that kind of point you to what's happening within that course and what's new. It's kind of like a notification feature that you would otherwise get up here, but just more specific to the course.
Perfect. And that would be, again, because of our continuous release, that's just the newest version of the My Courses.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So how can I, as a faculty member, find out what tools might be available to be turned on by admin?
That is a great question. We do have, my mind instantly goes to Google, right? You can just go to google.com and you can type in new releases Brightspace if you're really interested. But what I would maybe recommend doing is, suggesting to your administrative folks to maybe host sessions or little training ways where you can actually see what's new and exciting, right? Keeping up with those tools that we come up with. We find that sometimes there can be a little bit of a bottleneck. It may be that some faculty members, enjoy the way it is. Some are a little bit more drawn towards innovative tools or new things coming out, right? So in order to make everybody happy, I think the best thing is just to maybe be the first person to reach out to your administrator, be like, hey, can you see what's new with Brightspace? I'd like to get some of these tools that I saw in this webinar.
Excellent. And another thing to keep note of as well is if you're not already using the Brightspace community, definitely sign up for that, because that's every member, every user of Brightspace can access that. And every month the new release notes are listed, and it will give you a video demo of all of the new features, as well as a document that outlines what those features are, what they do, and how to get them turned on. So if you go through there and you find stuff that you think is really important, as a faculty member, you can request the administrator to turn those on as well. And also in those documents, it'll let you know if that's included in Brightspace Core or if that's an add-on. In linking to the Brightspace community, Joanna, can you show where that is within the platform, I believe, under Help?
Yep, we do have, again, it depends on how your institution has it set up, right? The way that we've set up my sandbox specifically is usually there's a little help drop down that will allow you to click on the community, and it will take you straight to there. If you don't have that, you can just go to community.brightspace.com and have access to that, right? So it's like a great forum that you can kind of really pick from topics, whether you are, instructor, administrator, learner, developer, best practices, things like that. So, and of course, there's video tutorials that you can select from as well that will bring you right to our YouTube channel. A lot of really, really great videos here, folks. Highly recommend if you're interested in maybe how to do a certain part of an assignment. You get those instructor release highlights for that specific, release. batch, so you can kind of go through that and see all that great information there. So I would recommend, the Brightspace community or the YouTube channel for Brightspace also offers you great, great, great information there as well.
Perfect. And if you're in the Brightspace community or on the tutorials and you just type in release highlights, that will take you to all of the most recent by month highlight or release notes. Awesome. And the last question we'll take, because we're just at time here, is can a bonus grade item be populated based on completing an end of class quiz or survey?
Okay, can't a bonus... So are we asking if a bonus can be triggered by a completion of not an assessment item? Am I getting that right, Eric?
Yeah, like an end of class quiz or survey that you might do at the end of the semester, I believe.
Definitely. Yeah, you can definitely do that. No problem. You can have things linked to the gradebook that don't necessarily have a grade item attached to them that can be that would be able to be used as a satisfactory for the final calculated grade.
Perfect. That is awesome. That'll be the end of the questions here today. So I'm just going to put up a slide here just to give you guys that link one more time. Thanks again, Joanna, for that fantastic demo. And thank you to everybody for joining us online. Just a reminder, an on-demand version of this demo will be available in the next 24 hours. And the link to the recording will be emailed out to you. You can share this demo with your colleagues who you think would find this helpful. And as a reminder, you can view all of our past demos on demand at d2l.com/higher education product tour. Have a great day, everyone.